Yo, what's going on, guys? And I want to give a shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies. I personally think the Grizzlies have done a great job this offseason. And I want to talk about what they've done and why they've been successful. First off, hopefully Jaren Jackson Jr. recovers quickly from that stress fracture in his leg. But besides that, hey, they made some moves. I like the draft picks of Jake LaRavia and David Roddy, aka PJ Tucker 2.0 and David Roddy. And they also have Kenneth Lofton Jr. and Vince Williams on two-way contracts. Today they actually waived our man Tyrell Terry as well. I don't know if people were Tyrell Terry fans, but look, I think this was really cool that we got to see the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, I think they've done all the right things. Obviously, first off, they extended John Morant, which was needed, okay? They had to re-sign John Morant, and his deal not only is a minimum of 193, but can grow up to $231 million if he hits the incentives. Then they brought back on a 2-year deal their man Tyus Jones, who's arguably the best backup point guard in the league. And I just like this. They made moves, they stayed young, and they realized, hey, we need to make changes because Steven Adams got exposed in the playoffs. So getting guys like Jake LaRavia and David Roddy will allow them to go small, especially with Brandon Clark and Brandon Clark in the interim, with Jaren Jackson Jr. being out with injury. And then, you know, basically all these moves, letting Slow-Mo leave. You got Brandon Clark minutes opening up. Even Santi Aldama and Kelly and Tilly will get chances to run, I assume, because of this now. And I assume that if they don't trade Danny Green or Dylan Brooks, they're just going to run it with Dylan Brooks and Danny Green for the rest of the year because they help for perimeter wise. And also another guy people will forget about who had a great, you know, rookie season, but kind of, he didn't regress his, I mean, he kind of regressed a little bit his sophomore season, but I think that was due to the lack of minutes he played, and that's Xavier Tillman. So expect, because of Jaren Jackson Jr. and because Steven Adams was arguably rendered useless in the playoffs, and as much as I love Steven Adams and I think he'll still play, expect Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, Santi Aldama, Kelly and Tilly, Xavier Tillman, and David Roddy, all 6 of those guys basically, to all fight for minutes until Jaren Jackson Jr. gets back to 100% after coming from an injury and then getting back into the rotation. Expect those 6 guys, including, I guess, 7 if you keep Steven Adams, but all those 6 guys that I previously mentioned be fighting for minutes in the front court this upcoming season, as they will be all deserving of it. Now, with that being said, I do believe that at power forward, you know, we'll see more of Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, and Kelly and Tilly, maybe even Santi Aldama. But I think center will be mainly, until Jaren Jackson Jr. gets back, Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, probably Santi Aldama, Xavier Tillman in that area. And then at the wing position, shooting guard, small forward, I think small forward specifically will be Dylan Brooks, Danny Green, and Zaire Williams, with shooting guard probably being Desmond Bane, and as well as Zaire Williams, maybe a little bit of Danny Green out there. But I think then obviously you have Yves Pons, who maybe, if they bring him back, but I don't think so. They do have a qualifying offer out on him. But John Conchar probably will also guard the shooting guard small forwards. I love John Conchar. And John Conchar, because he wasn't waived today, his contract became fully guaranteed, so he's on for the rest of the year. And then Tyus Jones and John Morant at the point guard spots as that rotation, and I'm actually very much liking that, and I think that's what needs to be done. So this is where I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me that I really do believe that they made all the right moves that they needed to make? They, you know, made sure to get the depth, drafted the right guys. And this is a team that they knew they had to get more floor spacing, as well as more, I think, guys who were two-way players who could guard multiple players, because I think we could all agree that part of their problem last year was not having enough, like Steven Adams and a few like players were unplayable in the playoffs. So I think they made the right adjustments of getting, you know, not rid of those players, but in return they went and got themselves players who weren't deficient in the areas that they were last year. And I think that's going to be a huge factor for them, and I think it's going to make a difference in the success we see from this team. So that's where I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think of everything they've done? And do you guys agree with me that it was what was needed, or do you guys think that they didn't really make any changes? I really think this is a team that easily could go to the Western Conference next year and be fighting for the top seed in the West. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I could just be somebody who's overzealous, but to me, I think this is one of the teams to beat in the NBA, and I do believe that for a fact. So that's where I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section, guys. What other moves would you like them to see them get? I think they're pretty set. I mean, one could argue maybe an actual six-man, like a Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford type scorer. And I'm not saying those guys, obviously. I'm saying a player who can come in and be a microwave for them. So that one's always going to be interesting to see if they bring anybody. But then we also saw them move on from D'Anthony Melton for the reasons I had said earlier. So it's interesting to see how they've been able to, you know, adapt. So I'm glad to see that they're not being stagnant. They're realizing when